my dad said as soon as I do around the island, that's when I can qualify for him to get me a new bike.
Wow, so you got to earn the road bike. Your dad finally says, okay, you did an RTI, I'll get you a bike. What was the bike after that?
So the bike after that was a Giant TCR. So and it was in medium large, which was a bit big for me.
How great is your dad on a scale of 1 to 10, given the support provided? Top tips to prepare for race day. I know you briefly spoke about that.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is you never want to change anything on race day. Like, make sure it's almost tried and tested. And if it's your first race day, just go along with it. Don't really try and sort of predict everything.
Tips on maintaining a breakaway.
I think if you're by yourself, you just have to dig deep.
Brother, no question, but please slow down. Okay, we are rolling, man. Will, thanks for coming onto the show and welcome everyone to another podcast. We've got another Matador guy. I've interviewed Matt Britton. He said you were the next up and coming guy. So Will, welcome to the show, man. How have you been? You just came back from Europe from some mountain biking racing.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I just got back from British Nat Champs for the XCO and XEC. So and a bit of a holiday as well whilst I was over there. So slowly getting the legs back into shape.
Yeah. You're a pretty young guy, man. You are 17.
Yeah.
How's it like cycling here in Singapore? I know you've only been here since 2019?
Yeah, summer 2019 is when we moved over.
Yeah.
But it's really good. I think the people say the cars are horrible, like the roads are really bad for cycling with the traffic lights, but to be honest, there's very few places where you can train all year round.
Yeah.
Like it might be a bit boring occasionally having to do all your efforts up and down TMCR, but really no matter where you live, you'd probably be on the same road. So
that's true.
I quite enjoy it. It's always nice traveling abroad, but that's no matter where you live.
Yeah. The first time I actually had an encounter with you, and I was just telling you just now, I was on Bukit Timah, and I see this guy blazing past me. You're probably on your second or third lap. You do a lot of mountain biking here in Singapore as well, right?
Yeah. So I would like to think I'm mainly a mountain biker, but with just how mountain bike racing is in Asia, I tend to just ride both. So it means, especially first half of the year, spend most of the time on my mountain bike, which I've got a Giant Anthem. Just mostly laps with BT because it's actually quite a fun mountain bike trail.
Yeah, it's speedy single trail, nice and flowy. So you started off with mountain biking.
Yeah, so during COVID, really, we lived just around the corner from the BT entrance. So we did a little bit of mountain biking in the UK. So we thought, why not do a lap? So we took our decathlon bikes around BT, which definitely took us quite a while, but that sort of started the love for cycling, really.
Right. So you started cycling back in your hometown and
not really. So I think the first time I started cycling was that 2020, 2021 sort of time during COVID, where I started mountain biking a lot more and then picking up road riding a bit.
So, well, this channel is about road biking. Let's talk about road bikes. So you are pretty fast, man. I know you ride with Matador. Tell us run us through the whole road cycling journey from mountain biking to road biking.
So it's sort of, we had one of my dad's friends, we borrowed his bike because we thought we've sort of heard and seen a bit about the road riding in Singapore. So I sort of went on a few rides with my dad, started to almost enjoy it a bit more, joined a few faster groups through people we know. And then sort of at that point, I was ready, like with Matadors on the mountain bike side, just sort of trying to build up my fitness on the road to be able to join them.
Yeah.
Just like even training with one at like the lady squad, which are now like super quick, even compared to the whole team. But just trying to even build up the fitness to join any of the groups in Matador sort of took me a while.
Yeah.
But then as soon as I got into road riding with them, just riding with the team helped me improve massively.
Right. So you just got to ride with people who are much faster than you, and that's when you're going to pick it up. So what was your first road bike? Was it the decathlon bike?
No. So I was actually very lucky. My dad's friend from work, he lent us probably like a 2015, 2014 Trek Madon.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a fully carbon frame, alu wheels for my first road bike was pretty much amazing. Like starting off with what at one point was the top end of road bikes is something not many people like have almost the luck to ride. So I pretty much rode that for 6 months to a year probably. And then when I started to outgrow that, my dad said, as soon as I do around the island, that's when I can qualify for him to get me a new bike.
Wow, so you got to earn the road bike. So what's the Trek Madon that your dad's friend lent to you? Was it your size? Because I know bike sizing tends to be a bit of a problem for most people, and I'm assuming that was probably your first encounter with a road bike. Did you know what was?
Yeah, like it was probably the first I've almost seen of a road bike, really.
Yeah.
Like, apart from maybe my dad's one lying around the house. But we're very lucky for it to be my size. So I pretty much rode that bike from the seat post being completely slammed to all the way up, because those Trek Madons had a weird seat post, a bit like my Giant, where only the top half of the seat moved. So you couldn't get like our most ordinary bikes with the seat post with a lot more range.
So how did you enjoy your first road biking on the Trek Madon? You did the whole RTI. Did you finish it and finally earned yourself a bike?
So it took a while to get to that point. It was just a lot of small rides, either going to like the MBS area by that barrage or like maybe at Sentosa or something like that. But it was definitely a difficult ride, but it was quite nice when you finally got to the end of that RTI into the city.
Right. So after the Trek Madon, you've earned, your dad finally says, okay, you did an RTI, I'll get you a bike. What was the bike after that?
So the bike after that was a Giant TCR. So I think it was in medium large, which was a bit big for me, but like, because the age when I got it was probably 15, 16 sort of, more 15 when I was still growing quite a bit. So we're expecting to have that bike for a while. And that was perfect. Like, it was mechanical Ultegra. It was rim brake, but that was when everything was rim brake really. But that was an amazing bike that I definitely raced a lot of, and I still have.
And how tall are you again?
177, I think.
Okay. And the medium large was a bit too big for you, or?
Well, we put a shorter stem on it. We pushed the seat a bit more forward. So it was probably not the ideal size, but when you don't want to buy a new road bike every year and a half, it was sort of the better option.
Yeah. I think it looks like Giant TCR. I know when people come and ask me like, what road bike should I get? I always tell them you can never go wrong with a Giant TCR. I had a Giant TCR for a very long time. That was my first road bike. Did you enjoy the Giant TCR?
Yeah, and I definitely think it's a great bike overall. Like, no matter what level you're really at, you see some of the pros using the TCRs for their mountain stages. And I think especially the value for money I really find with Giant. Like that TCR, you could I raced a ton on it with very minor modifications. So I think it's a very good bike, especially if you're just starting out.
What do you think of the biking scene here in Singapore with very flashy bikes?
It's definitely very different. Like, when I hear stuff about the people in the UK, you'd rarely see even like bikes like this.
Yeah.
You don't really see it from the guys who are on the continental teams or racing all around the UK almost as their job. So it's very different when you come here and see the 20 grand white Pinarello with the white Princeton wheels riding for their 20k coffee ride. So it's a very different sort of almost culture, I would like to say, around cycling. But then I guess if you have the money and you enjoy cycling, it's a bit more of a why not.
This is the place or the country where you'll see the latest and greatest. Like, when the SL8 was first released, I would already see them on the road before I see them in the shops. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's the SL8 right over there.
Two of them.
Yeah, two of them, and we've got a Factor as well. Yeah, we are here in the bike studio. So anyway, I read all my comments that you guys post on YouTube, and a lot of them are always commenting like what you said, right? We have got viewers outside of Singapore, maybe in the UK or in Europe. They say that we don't have such flashy bikes, and we ride whatever that we have. How do you, okay, then moving on from the TCR, you got this Propel or?
Yeah, so I rode that TCR pretty much for almost a year and a half. Like I battered that. I still have it on my turbo trainer at home, and it's definitely been through some proper rides. And then I got my dealership with Tay Junction, where I upgraded to this very nice Propel Advanced SL.
And this is in the Swirly Galaxy size M. Would you want to do the honors of running us through your bike setup?
Yeah, so it's got full SRAM red on it. At the moment, it's on a rival cassette, just because when you're training, like those extra whatever 100 grams you save is not worth the money really. With the Cadex 50 Ultra wheels, which are almost probably one of the key points of the bike. Like I think just how light they are, and then in comparison to like the stiffness is probably one of the big differences I felt with this bike compared to my TCR. Like compared to the TCR, this bike weighs nothing and is a lot stiffer than my old bike.
This bike weighs a very impressive 7.2 kilos, and we were just chatting about this, and we think mainly it's because of the SRAM red group set, and also because of the integrated seat post. I'm not sure how much does that integrated seat post save you in totality. You mentioned that this bike, the integrated seat post, there's the mast on top where you can just slightly adjust it. But you did not even cut the integrated seat post as well, right? It's like a stock.
Yeah, so I think when they come brand new, it's a stock level, and then you can obviously cut it down, but then you can get spacers which sit between the seat and the seat post, so you can raise it if you sell it off or something else happens. But I was very lucky to not have to cut this down. We just added a spacer or two and it was perfect.
Yeah. So, and then I asked you the question because let's say if you needed to go higher on the seat post, it'll be an issue. You will probably have to upsize on the frame, right?
Yeah, if you were already at sort of that limit of how many spaces you can put in, the sad part about these things is you have really no other option. You'd have to go for a bigger frame if you were right at that cusp.
But then you're going to be compromising your reach. A reach might be an issue if you're going to go bigger, but unfortunately you have to go up for you have to accommodate a higher seat post, then you might compromise on the reach. But I think this is one of the selling points for the Giant Propel. I think they've been doing this for years, where they've got this integrated seat post on their SL versions. And would you say that's a drawback of this bike? Do you have any issues with that?
I wouldn't think so. I would think, because realistically, when you buy a bike, you might have to move the seat post around a much, but you're not really gonna move it more than maybe a few millimeters. Unless someone else is riding the bike at the same time. So I think you definitely have to be a bit more cautious when choosing your sizing. Maybe doing sort of a bike fit before you buy to make sure you really know your saddle height is the only thing that might be a bit of a disadvantage to it.
So would you say get a bike fit first, get a pre-fit to know what kind of brands or geometry will suit you before buying a bike?
This sort of stuff to be honest, like even for the geometry stuff, I've got no idea. Like, I couldn't tell you anything about the geometry on that bike. So I think it definitely helps probably for everyone, especially if you're spending a lot of money on a bike. You want to make sure you're not going to have to spend a bunch more money making sure that bike is comfortable. So I think it's definitely worth it, but then it's not necessary. Really.
Yeah. And you didn't go for a bike fit?
No, I've never had a bike fit. I've played around with the setup a bit for the point where I'm comfortable, but otherwise I've never had anything professionally done. So
you've been just playing around the seat post, the fore and aft position of your saddle, even the stack of your handlebars as well?
Yeah, so when I got this bike, they basically just took all the measurements from my old bike, put them straight on here, and there was no problem at all. I'd sort of, as you can see, I've slowly moved down the handlebars because just more aerodynamic, really.
and is it comfortable for you, like to keep going down all the way?
Yeah, I think I've never had a problem with it really. So I think some people might not like it at that angle, but for me, who's racing quite a lot, I find it comfortable, and all the marginal gains matters really.
Yeah. So you've owned the TCR and you have that on the trainer, and now the Propel, which is the aero bike.
Yeah.
Would you say there's a very big difference in terms of speed and performance coming from a aero bike and also a TCR?
I think there's definitely an improvement, but for me, coming from like a 2019, 2020 mid-range TCR to a 2023 top of the range Propel, the difference I feel is probably not just the difference between the aero bike and the standard all-round bike, you could say. I think it's more the the better carbon, like electric shifting's probably the best thing in the world. Like I'd always said, like, oh, I can't make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
And then riding this, is really like such a...
It's so smooth, right?
Yeah, like when you're having to just press a button instead of trying to yank your hand around the shift is really a great thing.
Were you on a Shimano before this? On the TCR, was it Shimano?
Yeah, so I was Shimano Ultegra.
The R8000? The mechanical one?
Yeah, the mechanical.
Yeah. And then moving to SRAM, I'm assuming must be a very big difference just on the mechanical moving to electronic. Would you say there's a difference between Shimano, SRAM?
Well, it's like even on holiday we rented some bikes. They had Dura Ace on them. Oh, not Dura, but like Ultegra Di2. And you can't really tell a difference in terms of it's the preference on, do you like one shifter going up, one shifter going down, or sort of the Shimano way about it. I think it's more what I hear is the mechanical side of it. Like I hear a lot of things about people having to pay a lot of money when their Di2 breaks because you have to take half the bike apart to reach the battery, where even like today, my ride today, my rear derailleur battery died. So I just swapped it with the front battery and I was happy for the rest of my ride.
Yeah, I think that's why a lot of people who are on SRAM, they like the fact that the batteries are interchangeable and you could just swap it around quickly. As compared to a Shimano, you've got a big battery stick in there. If it's gone, you're screwed. You can't go out on your ride. Okay, cool. And the wheels, I've heard you were previously working with Wheel Angels. You've owned their wheels. How does that compare with something like a KDEX wheel?
I think they're definitely different, I think, but then that's also the difference between KDEX, which is probably one of the biggest wheel manufacturers in the world, and then a small local company. So there's definitely both wheels I definitely really enjoyed riding. Like Wheel Angel helped me out a lot, and they were probably my first proper pair of carbon wheels, but you can really tell the difference where a company like KDEX has probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, into developing their wheels. You can sort of almost, you not really feel, but you can sort of tell that they've got that edge on, like they've got so much more money into putting into developing their wheels.
Preference KDEX, Wheel Angels. Sorry to put you on the spot.
My preference, I definitely, not prefer, but I like these wheels more. I think if that's a bit more of a personal thing, because I really enjoy having, like, these wheels are really stiff and I really enjoy that for cornering, attacking, sprinting, like everything like that. I really enjoy stiffer wheels, but I think it also does come down to a bit more of user preference.
Yeah. If there was one big upgrade that you would say would make the most difference, what would you say that component would be?
On this bike?
On bikes in general, yeah.
I think it's the wheel. I think like on my TCR, I probably had 4 different sets of wheels between the stock ones, borrowing them from friends, and then Wheel Angel. And every different wheel changed the bike completely. So I think it's definitely not the cheapest upgrade, but if you want to change how your bike feels, a different set of wheels will change it completely. Well, especially in my experience, they have.
So go for carbon wheels and 50 mils in Singapore anyway?
In Singapore, I think that's the perfect mix. You could probably go 60, especially if you're only racing in Singapore. Like the 50 is quite good because I'll take this bike to Thailand, Malaysia to race stuff with actually some decent climbs in it. So just the slight lower depth, a bit lighter, definitely helps.
Cool. So that's on the bike. If anyone has any questions, either you commented on this video or hit your Instagram, I guess. You should be quite socially active on Instagram.
Instagram, definitely. Send me a message and I'll definitely respond about it.
Cool. So let's move on to what are your aspirations for cycling? Where do you want this to head towards? I mean, you're still a pretty young chap. You want to make this full time, or
it'll be a dream to make this a full time thing, if that's being a pro rider or if it's anything to do with cycling. Really, it's just I just love the sport so much. I think it definitely helps you meet a lot of people. Like I've met a bunch of new different people around Singapore and even Asia at different races. So it's definitely, it brings a lot of people together, and it is a very, 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 I'm not nice sport. I guess that's a bit of a weird word, but like it's people from pretty much different backgrounds can all get into it, and it's always quite nice to have that community around it.
And you've got to juggle between going to school, your studies, and cycling. How did you manage everything? Like, what's the training looking like?
I think with the training, I just have to limit it during the week, quite frankly. Like between going to school, having quite a bit of schoolwork with the IB to do, I sort of I have to limit my training to sort of about an hour and a half a day is what I can comfortably do, if that's going out quite early before school, or if that's doing something on the trainer after school before I'm doing my homework or something like that.
So do you think you're more associated as a mountain biker or a road biker, or a mix of both?
I probably know a lot more people through road biking, because mountain biking in Singapore is a very different community, because you don't really have those big group rides like crazies or the more communal ones. And you don't really have cafe stops either in mountain biking. So I'm probably more known through road riding, even though I probably do a bit more and bigger races on the mountain bike.
Okay. Sorry, just coming back to training as well. Do you have a coach?
Yes. So I've got my coach is based in the UK, because he's specific to mountain biking, although it translates quite well to the road bike.
Okay. And for maybe your friends out there who are of your age, or maybe the younger guys, or even older guys like me, if I want to get serious into road biking, I want to start going into races, what's the tip?
I think just try and get out as much as possible. Like there's no rhyme or secret. I'm sure there's secrets when you get to the pro level, but when you're just starting in cycling, I know I just sort of wanted to get out on the bike as much as I could. And I think that's the way to do it. Like there's no point, if it's your first 6 months of cycling, trying to do specific intervals. I think just getting out on your bike, doing hours and enjoying the sport, really.
Okay. Do you have a lot of races coming up this year?
Yeah, so this second half of the year, it's actually quite busy if all the races that said they were going to happen do happen. So we've got the Singapore track event next weekend, team time trial, and then bigger races like Masters Tour of Chiang Mai, I'm planned. And if Tour of Batam happens, I'll be racing there as well.
Wow, you've got quite a lot of big races coming up. And do you train on the hills in Mount Faber? We don't have much hills here in Singapore, or mostly TMCR?
It really depends what I'm doing. Like I quite enjoy doing, especially the lower part of Faber, I quite enjoy doing the shorter intervals there, just because it's consistent grade. You're not really doing hill intervals there, but like those shorter, either cadence or some VO2 max stuff's quite nice to do there.
And nutrition. So when you're racing out on the bike, what are you carrying?
Mostly gels. Okay. So luckily Matador's sponsored by a shop called Red Dot Running Company. So I get all my gels through there. And it's probably not the most like pro nutrition plan. I sort of just try and take down a gel an hour, plus then I usually try to have like 50 to 100 grams of carbs into my water bottles.
Okay. And when you're racing out on your cycling computer, what are you looking at? What are you monitoring most of the time?
So if it's a time trial, all I have is speed, time, and distance. And if it's a race, I'll have heart rate there as well. So like a longer stage race.
So power, you're not really looking into power?
Not really. And then like I'll only look at heart rate sort of during the more relaxed part of the stage, like because if it's a 120k race, you're not full gas the whole time. So sort of those more relaxed times, if you can call it, I'll be looking at my heart rate, making sure I'm not doing any unnecessary work. But when it comes to the actual hard parts and those winning moves, I'll make sure all I see is speed, distance, time. I won't look at any heart rate or power. Okay.
Recently this year, I've been trying to get myself to join a couple of races within Singapore and mostly Malaysia. Give me some race strategy tips here. Let's say we are going for a 140k race. For you, what's the race strategy like? Do you full gas everything, or you pace it out? How does it look like?
So I think first, I definitely look at the course before. I want to see sort of if there are any sort of like big hills, big climbs, like Tour of Phuket had 3 massive climbs just before the finish line. So you sort of want to know when things are going to happen. But it also, like, racing, if you're racing by yourself, which I've done a lot in sort of the junior, like if I'm just racing in a junior category, you got to know how to save your energy quite efficiently, because even if you're not the strongest person at the race, which 99% of the time you're not, if you can save those few watts like every minute compared to the strongest guy who's doing work on the front, you can come out better in the end.
So would you say just hide in the peloton and maybe towards the end you just gotta full gas everything out?
I think you should definitely have a plan, to sort of, which helps you save energy, and like have points where if you had sort of the strength to attack, that's where you'd do it. But also it's a bike race, so anything could happen. So it's like you have your plan, but the guy next to you has his plan, another team has their plan. So sort of you do have to see what's happening, and it's a lot harder if you're racing alone because you have to decide which attack's worth following. But like, I'm quite lucky to do a lot of racing with Matadors with quite a big team, so it makes your life a bit easier if you have a teammate following an attack, and you can sort of just sit in and save that one chase.
All right. Okay. Thanks for all of that. Anything else about that you want to talk about that I missed? Anything else?
No, not really.
Okay. You want to go on to the spicy questions?
Yeah, let's hear some of them.
All right. Let's pick some questions. Let me go and look for this. All right. Cool. I think I've answered kind of a couple of them already. Okay. We'll go with the first question. The first question is Giant really a lot cheaper than other brands? If yes, how much cheaper do you think they are?
I doubt they'll be much cheaper. I think sort of at that mid-range, you do find the mid-lower range is where you find the big difference in prices. I think like TCR was probably when my TCR is probably the lower end in terms of that sort of bike. But when you get to the higher end, I think most bikes are quite similar.
Yeah.
I think I would say this would be a little bit cheaper than, like, say, an SLA or a Factor, but I don't think it's a huge difference.
Yeah. What's your dream bike? Pinarello.
I do really like the Colnago Tadej Pogacar races. I really like the look of those bikes.
It's not because of Tadej Pogacar?
It's well, I think at that point it's more the legs than the bike, but I do really like the look of those bikes.
Do you think Tadej Pogacar can be Tadej Pogacar if he was riding a Polygon?
I don't think he would do as well, but he would still be winning a lot of things. Like, when you hear to the amount of sort of investment, especially in his time trial bike, the amount of weight saving and specific stuff they do to him with Colnago is something you very rarely see.
All right. Next question is, what's one thing you will change about this bike?
It's definitely the position was the first thing, and then potentially the tires. Like, these Giant in-house ones have been brilliant, but then I might want a lighter tire or something like that might want to change.
With lesser rolling resistance.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Next one is top tips to prepare for race day. I know you briefly spoke about that.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is you never want to change anything on race day. Like, make sure it's almost tried and tested. And if it's your first race day, just go along with it. Don't really try and sort of predict everything. Things will happen that aren't in your control.
Yeah.
So sort of just trying to stay relaxed, and like, everyone gets nerves on race day. So you got to go with it and sort of make the best out of whatever happens.
Do you try to simulate race day?
No. I'll try so going into a big road race, I'll increase my fuel to training.
Yeah.
In training, just so my body sort of is used to eating a bit more than I would on a normal training session. But otherwise, it would sort of be going into race day, taking tips or stuff you've learned from previous race days and just trying to sort of get that routine in order.
So on race day in the mornings, just before you head out for the race, what do you normally eat?
most of the time, sort of racing, if I'm most of the time it'll sort of be bred with something.
Yeah.
No matter where I am, it's quite a bulletproof breakfast, because most places you can get a loaf of bread and like something to go on it, if it's like honey, jam, or anything like that.
Right. Okay. So nothing specific that.
No, nothing.
No rocket science in it.
No, there's no special rhyme or reason.
Okay. Cool. Ooh. How great is your dad on a scale of 1 to 10, given the support provided?
I'm guessing that one's from my dad.
Yes.
And also, I am very lucky to have my parents be very supportive, because like they're all the ones that pay for me to go to these races, pay for the race entries. So it is definitely, I do have a very big advantage of my parents being this supportive of me racing, me training, and everything like that.
Yeah, it's good that you have supportive parents, because I had guests on the shows and they did say in their earlier days when they want to start when they started getting into cycling, that they had to sneak out of the house and bring their bikes and start cycling, because they don't want their parents to find out about them like cycling on the roads. Do you think that's a bit dangerous to cycle on the roads here in Singapore? Or?
Definitely if you're new to cycling. Like, I probably have only been riding by myself on the road for the past 6 to 9 months, probably, or maybe almost a year. But like my first year and a half, 2 years of riding was always done in a group, just because you're so much safer. If you've got 2-3 people to look out at traffic, you're of course just a bigger group, so it's easier to see.
Yeah.
But I think definitely if you're by yourself, you need to have that bit more experience. You need to make sure you're like 100% comfortable on your bike, so you can look around, you can make sure you're visible, like always wearing bright jerseys and that sort of thing. But definitely if you're new, I would advise just riding in a group, just so you can almost let your defenses down a bit and sort of concentrate on learning, sort of getting confidence on the bike and getting a bit more fitness up in a group where there are other people spotting out potholes and looking at traffic.
You do mountain biking as well. Do you think that road biking kind of helps you out with your mountain biking, or is it the other way around?
I think definitely, because you sort of get a better quality of training. So like if I go out for 5-minute effort, I'll definitely get a better quality if I'm on my road bike compared to my mountain bike, just because you're on a smooth surface. You can only focus on your power. So it's you definitely get a better fitness out of training on the road bike, but then there are specific skills you have to be on the mountain bike for.
Right. Next question this is a tough one. What motivates William Mitchell?
I think firstly, it's quite nice to win races. Like, there isn't much that can replicate sort of the feeling of winning a big race, especially when you put hours of training in a week to sort of, you always want that end goal. So like even if you don't win, like getting to that goal of, if it's, you want a 5 watt FTP, or if it's you want a top 50 at this race, I think just having a goal that you want to work towards, and there aren't any shortcuts in cycling, sadly. Like, there's, especially road riding, there's sort of not much was going to get away from how strong you are. Like, your tactics might help a bit, but in the end of the day, if there's 3 people coming to the line, it's most likely going to be the guy who's trained the hardest who's going to win.
Yeah. There's just no shortcuts to anything, man. Just got to put in the effort. Okay, last 2 tips on maintaining a breakaway.
I think if you're by yourself, you just have to dig deep. Like, there's nothing else that's really going to help you apart from properly burying yourself. But if you can try and get a group of people to work well together, most of the time you're going to beat a peloton. Like, the difference between 5 guys working really well together and 50 people sort of working big breaks between each proper pull and a few attacks. But I think the hardest thing is getting every rider to work properly, because some riders want to save energy, some riders, it doesn't go along with their plan, say, for the race. So I think it's just more, if you have riders that are all willing to work, it'll definitely work out a lot better.
And you're talking about riders within the same team, or?
It's harder if you're in the same team, then like it'll work very well because you're all almost on the same page. But when you've got racers from different teams who train differently, who've been taught about racing a bit differently, it's definitely a lot harder to get them to work together.
Okay, so let's say if you're in a race, there's a breakaway. Would you normally just follow them just to make sure you bridge the gap, or do you just let them go?
Really depends. Like most of the time you can tell how that's going to end out. Like this is like where in the race it is, who's in the breakaway. So most of the time you can tell, but then there are instances where you're like, oh, we really need to get this back. And then that's where the teamwork comes in a bit. Because if we've got 3 Matador guys pulling on the front, it's also going to work out very well for pullback breakaway.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'm gonna end this with a funny one. I just saw it just now. You know Raihan?
Yeah.
Raihan says, okay, we're gonna end this. I'm gonna end this with Raihan's question. I'm trying to get Raihan onto the show. Maybe you can convince him for me. He says, "Brother, no question, but please slow down." What is your response to Raihan?
Not really. I think it's always a goal to get a lot quicker. Like,
so Raihan has to up his game, man.
Yeah, he needs to do more training.
Raihan, you're not training enough. All right, Will, thanks for coming, man.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hope you had fun, and
thank you very much.
I'll never have to encounter you dropping me on the road. And thanks again. All right, we are done.
Solid.
Hope you had fun.
Yeah.
Let's get one photo for Instagram.